Now, I recall the work done by SRF Foundation in the field of education and conservation of natural resources, which you touched upon earlier, but this is another aspect which is so well aligned with the TQM thought process. Would you like to share something on about that?
It all actually emanates from my grandfather's view on education, or sometimes lack of education in our country. And so, first and foremost, my wife, after a gap of 2 generations, started the Shri Ram Schools. And they've become extremely successful, now being run by my daughter-in-laws. And that experience, and that this was in her lifetime also, that why can't we spread whatever knowledge we gain here in our schools to rural schools, to government schools, to schools where they don't have the benefit of the kind of teachers we have and the kind of learning that we are providing. So we decided to first do an experiment in a locality which was not too far away from our center of activity, which is in Gurgaon. So we chose area of Mewat, which is not far from here. It's an hour's drive from here. And very poor district. So we chose 19 villages and 40 schools. And I don't want to sound like a religious bigot or something, but it was almost 95% Muslim population. And very often, because of their practices, they were not sending particularly girls to school, and certainly not after puberty. And we were finding that there was a lot of dissonance because young people wanted an education. And the parents would not let them actually get the opportunity of having an education. So we went from house to house. Our team from the foundation went from house to house, from starting with the district collector down to the local government officials, to the headmasters of schools, and convinced them that we must bring the girls back to school. And for that, we had to provide toilets because many of these government schools did not have toilets. And one of the main reasons why people were not sending their girl child was because there were no toilets there. How could the girls go in the open in front of boys? And so everywhere we built toilets, we provided water, and we provided amenities in the school. In some of the schools, we collaborated with IBM to put up computer systems. We put up solar panels so that they could get electricity for the computers non-stop. We put up smart boards in some of the classrooms. So all this we did in Mewat. After learning this, we said, why don't we spread this whole effort to the rest of the country? So in some places, we collaborated with other companies, like in the Northeast, where we don't have any plants or facilities, but we collaborated with those who did. And we started a number of the same kind of effort with a number of government schools there. And wherever we had our factories, it could be Indore, it could be Dahej in Gujarat, it could be Gwalior, it could be in various places in India, we started finding out villages where schools were there, but the education was of a very low quality. And we started working. Today, we have more than 500 schools who we are helping. And this is going up year after year, year after year. So a lot of this is with our own funds, our own efforts, but we also do get more and more people saying, can we collaborate together and start schools or help schools in certain parts of the country where we are not present?
Great. So let's jump to the next aspects. Young founders today want to scale fast and exit faster in the new generation of business leaders. If a 30-year-old founder came to you and asked, how do I build a company that lasts 100 years? What's the one thing you would tell them to master?
Interesting question. So first, let me say that if it is just to make money and you want to have a good life, then your model of building a new business and exiting is fine, that works for you. But if you have the desire to start a company and run it for the next generation, 100 years, then your attitude has to be, first and foremost, there are no shortcuts to success. There are no shortcuts to making money. It's a long grind. And in that long grind, you have to have some basic values that are very, very important to make a success out of it. And I can only preach what I know, which is good integrity, principles, ethics, good human relations, treat your colleagues as equals. So there are many things that you can do to create longevity in your organization. The moment you start thinking in terms of, oh, next year I have to have 25% more profits, and the next year I have to have another 25% more profit. Sure, there's nothing wrong by having ambition to grow fast, but not through shortcuts. And the moment you start thinking like that, you will start seeing success coming to you. And I would say there is no reason to think of why 100 years. It can be 200, 300, 400 years.
Okay, so if you had to explain TQM to a 24-year-old today who has never heard the term before, how would you describe it in one sentence that cuts through the jargon?
To explain in one sentence any new concept is not an easy thing to do. I would take a different approach. If I wanted somebody to understand TQM, learn TQM, I would point them towards a simple book on TQM and say that please read this. For my sake, read it. You don't have to agree with anything. You don't have to agree with anything that's written in the book. But please read it for my sake. After they've read it, they will come back to me and say, thank you, sir, for pointing me to this wonderful book, which has so many concepts I did not understand, did not even know. And I'm grateful to you that you introduced me to something which I was not even aware of. So awareness in one sentence is very difficult when it comes to TQM, because TQM is so many different parts of the ultimate journey that it's better explained by somebody who's written a simple book on it. I don't know whether Professor Ishikawa's book would be the best, but maybe that's more for people who are somewhat more familiar with TQM. But to get somebody interested and wanting to learn about TQM would be a simple, I don't know if there are any simple books on this.
I think Professor Ishikawa's book is the simplest. No jargon, nothing, plain, simple thinking.
Okay.
Easy to read, written in the first person kind of a thing.
Yeah, that I know.
Right. Final question. You've built factories, schools, music platforms, and values. When India remembers you, what do you want them to remember most about you?
I don't know what I would want them to remember me by, but I think I know what people will remember me by as an all-rounder in cricket parlance. Because in my business avatar, I think I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. I've had many successes and I've had some failures. But that's human nature. But beyond that, I have also been very fortunate to have been exposed to classical music ever since the time I was born. I had the greatest musicians who used to come and stay in my grandfather's house, where we all stayed. I had the opportunity of listening to some of the greatest artists when I was conscious about music. I had the great opportunity of learning sitar from Pandit Ravi Shankar. And I learned sporadically from him from time to time because I was in college, I was in boarding school. So whenever I used to meet him and get the time, I used to learn from him. And I think because of my training in listening, I also learned much faster. And I think I will probably be, and afterwards, although I still play my sitar, I am not a concert artist. I don't perform in public very often. I do still a little bit, but not very often. And so I will be possibly remembered as a reasonably successful businessman and a reasonably successful musician. And my last 10, 15 years has been passionately involved in trying to promote classical music everywhere. And I have recently started a gurukul where I want to teach young people the playing of sitar in Pandit Ravi Shankar ji's style. So that's my latest project. Hopefully it'll take off. And so I will be remembered, as I said, as an all-rounder. Reasonably successful musician and a reasonably successful business.
Thank you very much, Arun. I appreciate your time and it will be valuable. I learned many new things about you during this, which I never had the opportunity before.
Yeah, that was my hidden talent.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I was encouraged by Panditji to play in public as often as I could. And I did, in my younger days, play concerts.
Okay.
So thank you, Janak. Thank you for giving me this opportunity of sharing my thoughts, largely on TQM, on our journey, on our value systems, on what I learned from my grandfather, and what benefited me and my companies, and what we have achieved through the learning of TQM and the implementing of TQM.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.